Hi, I'm Spike Marshall. I'm directing Rope. It's a play written by Patrick Hamilton, and it's about two university students who try to prove their moral superiority and intellectual superiority by murdering one of their fellow students and hiding their body in a chest. And the play is all about the party that unfolds around that chest and these two students trying to get away with murder. Same session as Francesca. Oh no, you would have been at the same thing. Yeah. So you wouldn't have met Kylie maybe. So Kylie's playing Mrs. Debenham, who is Sir Johnson's older sister. Ryan is playing Sabot, the French waiter, and Fran is playing Layla, the socialite. And so this is just going to be essentially all about just essentially get us getting to know how to work together as well, more than anything else.
It is really cool. There's so much you could pull from.
Yeah. Yeah, I love like how into kind of the vision of the 1920s Spike is.
Patrick Hamilton's a really fascinating author. He's someone who's very socially conscious, very dark and very brooding, and has a real lot of interesting things to say about class. And Rope's a really interesting synthesis of these ideas about class, these dark notions, with something that's a real, just interesting, fun, dynamic thriller. Like it's just a genuine kind of like whodunit, and it's really thrilling. And there's just so much you can piece out and pull out from the play that it's just a really interesting challenge, especially as the first thing I've directed. Like it's, I'm really excited to see how it goes.
Hiya, my name's Kylie. I'm playing Mrs. Debenham in the play. I do have a kind of smaller, more quiet role in the play. I don't spend a whole lot of time talking, but I am a kind of more politically charged, thinking person. I come in, I am very immediately quite different to the characters, apart from my brother, who I do spend a lot of time kind of staring around. He's obviously very interested in the books, but kind of beneath that, I can be quite a serious character who stands out a bit from the rest. She's in a room with young people. She's quite considerably older. Doesn't relate to them in any sort of way. I think if she tried to start a conversation with them, she'd probably find it quite difficult. I find her obviously quite introverted, and I think because of that, she kind of withdraws into herself.
Hello, I'm Ben. I'm playing Sir Johnston Kentley. I am a father of Ronald, who is I would say colleague. There's a schoolboy who knows Brandon and Granillo. I've been invited ostensibly to look at the book collection, and that's my primary focus, that and accepting multiple glasses of wine as the evening progresses. I think in terms of Mrs. Debenham, the interesting thing is sort of how befuddled I am compared to her, in the sense that, like, if she's the driving force, if she's saying, you know, you're not having that glass of wine, am I just, and then passing it to me, and I'm like going, oh, okay, jolly good, and carrying on. Or am I of the mode of, oh, here she goes with one of her campaigns again, and am I kind of looking after that she doesn't embarrass the family, as it were? It's how cognizant of the world around me you kind of want me to be.
My name's Ryan, and I'll be playing Sabot. He's a French servant. He's only in the first act, but he sort of transitions the play. Like, at the start of the play, when Brandon and Granilla, they've just killed Ronald, it's like quite thriller, quite darky, and then Sabot comes in, and he's just sort of turns into a comedy because he has a silly French accent. Good evening, sir. Very good, sir. That sort of thing. And so he's only got a couple scenes, and then so he doesn't have that much screen time, but he kind of makes things work. I guess he's sort of like the balance for everyone else, in a sense. I want him to like be a slightly ridiculous little vein and stuff, so the audience kind of like wants him to fuck up, like when he's setting plates, but then he doesn't. Yeah. And I want the scene where him and Rupert are having their conversation. That's where you sort of see the humanity of him a bit. Yeah. He becomes less of like a ridiculous figure and like an actual person. He's finally thinking like, what have Brandon and Granilla been doing?
There's an order to the world that Sabot wants to instill, and Brandon's not allowing him to essentially make that order happen. And that's the entire thing with Brandon, is that essentially they are kind of disconnected from the world because they believe themselves to be better than the world.
I'm Francesca. I'm playing Layla. Layla is a social butterfly. She's very into fashion and the movies and pop culture, and she really is enjoying getting the attention from Raglan. She's quite a comedic role and brings quite a lot of energy to the scene, to the scenes that she's in. But then also there's sort of, the audience can relate to the sense that she's picking up where something might be going a bit wrong. so the audience can sort of maybe relate to her there. I mean, because like female friendships often do kind of have these layers where there's sort of like friendliness and like friendship that's genuine, but then also sort of like the element of competition, but then you can't be like outwardly competitive because that's like a social faux pas. So that's sort of like very, I quite liked how in the audition we were kind of exploring how Layla might be if she's sort of feeling a bit insecure and a bit threatened, and then that kind of like comes out as this sort of anxiety around the wrapping of the parcel and like.
I quite like the idea that Layla is someone who is very in control within the rules of society. That society is a game that she plays expertly, and she's come into this room and Brandon just throws the game off completely. So you're suddenly playing something completely different, and Layla doesn't quite know how to exist within that system.
Now,
Where are these books?
oh well, yeah, it's dotted around.
There are books here and up here. There are also books over here.
And can we just take anything?
Well, no, I don't believe so. I think some of them are going and some of them are staying. Let's have a look, shall we?
Oh.
Sorry. Oh, well, you can have that one.
I definitely like what you're doing with Johnston there, Ben.
I think I could stand to be a bit more curious potentially. Now that I've sort of acquired myself, it might be time for me to sort of ask: Is this what young people are listening to these days?
Yeah.
Draw myself in, because otherwise it's very much I'm just here with my sister, and these people don't exist. So go on then, entertain me.
The thing is, once we get the blocking done, we can start to play around with stuff. And so, like on Tuesday, if we get those 10 pages done and we've got like maybe half an hour left and you guys are still feeling a tiny bit energetic, we might also then think about kind of like what that means and kind of like what's going on in there, and maybe ways that we can start like just logging stuff away to think about when we get to the runs, and see kind of like, you know, just to try and give you almost like ammunition about what you want to try and mess with once you're actually running this properly.
So easier when there's 2 or 3 bottles of wine for us to tuck into when we have a proper party.
So I'm really interested in this being a collaborative process, because especially with a play like Rope, where I've been thinking about this for months and months and months, I've got a really strong idea about this. And a really strong idea is fantastic, but if you can then add other strong ideas to it and synthesize something, it just becomes so strong. And so as a director, one of the real challenges I have is being able to present my vision to people, but not choke their instincts. So I want to be able to say to people, you're safe with me. We have a really strong vision, but this vision isn't unassailable, that you can work within the confines of that. You can essentially work with me and we can make something together.
Yeah, you're
That's my job starting there.
I guess it would be easier for you if Raglan was around, because then you'd have
exactly.
someone to focus on.
And
Yeah,
ideally,
so probably
these
like a
first
bit
couple of
more.
weeks, I want to be the man with the plan, but by the time we get to November and show week, this is our show. Every single person has responsibility for the show. Every single person has put themselves into the show, and it becomes our project. And so that's what I really get a sense of pride from. It's just everyone taking ownership of something, and it's something I'm really excited to see already happening.